So just so you know, I don't have medical insurance. I have regular insurance, car insurance, house insurance, any other insurance. I don't have an esthetician. I use, what is it? Cocoa butter for lotion. And I use regular shampoo that you get at the drugstore, or what do you call it? Walmart. I use regular toothpaste and a regular toothbrush. I don't do anything excessive as far as beauty regimes. I don't wear makeup. I don't get my hair done. I don't color my hair. I don't put fake eyelashes on. I don't use anything excessive. I think the makeup that I do have, I've had ever since, 4 years ago? I haven't bought, actually, ever since 2016, because I bought makeup from Unique that was supposed to be organic. Bought it from some lady over here in North Canton when I was working at that job over there. And that's why I bought the makeup, was when I was working back then. So I've had makeup ever since back then, and I haven't used it up. It's still there. I haven't used makeup. Okay? So all of my collagen, smooth skin, and all of that, and my hair and whatever, is based upon the food and releasing the demons. The way I have in my book, I cough, I sneeze, I blow my nose, I rest, I relax. I don't spend more than I can afford. I don't put myself out there so much, causing then the body to oxidize and break down. And I've cut down my lifestyle. I've changed even some aspects of my belief systems. I've evolved. Okay? I put my investment in the food, the air, the water, rest, closing off the light, blocking out the light. So that way I don't have to turn to operations and Botox and fake eyelashes and skin creams. $8 for cocoa butter. You know how long cocoa butter has been on the market? Forever. Ever since I was a freaking kid. And it's predominantly used by the African American community. And I see why. It smells amazing. It smells so good. Every single time I wash my face with some kind of body wash or whatever, and then I'm using cocoa butter right after just to kind of give it a little bit of moisturization. Oh my God, it's amazing. It's so inexpensive. It's not poison. And so the food is what's given me. Sometimes I look cute. Sometimes I look a little monstrous because I'm going through an energy conversion, a growth process, a growth spurt because the climate's changed. And so it's like my whole lifestyle is so cheap. It's so inexpensive. When all you need to rely on for relative uniformity, for relative healthy looking, okay, for collagen and fat and immune system, when you just rely on the food supply that the government gives you access to, meat, milk, cheese, eggs, whatever, cabbage, juices, and then occasionally I'll get a pizza with my husband, or we'll go out to dinner, get a lobster or a steak, and sometimes I'll eat a McDonald's hamburger. You see, that's the thing about food, is that you don't just eat just potatoes every single day. You don't just drink just milk and that's it every day. You don't just drink water and that's it every day. You must have a diverse amounts of nutrition and understand what your immune system is trying to do when it wants to release stuff. And so the food supply, when you think about it, all the food supply is what the body needs to survive climate change. It needs it for adaptation. I don't go and characterize food as, this food has to be eaten because of this, this, and this. Because when you're using food as medicine, you're developing an antibiotic effect. And that's the issue with the medical, holistic, energy healing world, all the mommy and me groups, and every other situation out there that people are up in arms with, causing them to be an activist, is that they have used food as medicine. They have weaponized food against our body, mind, and spirit. They have RAPED'd their immune system by forcing it to close up, or forcing it to open, or forcing it to produce something. Like, you've enslaved your body through the medical holistic energy healing world. So imagine back then in the 1860s when the Black people were forced to go and pick cotton or be a domestic servant, forcing that poor Black person to go and produce bushels and bushels of cotton in the hot baking sun day after day after day. So imagine when you're taking a medication or herbal remedy and your body is trying to release something and you're forcing it not to. Or when you want to feel a certain way and you're forcing one of your hormones and organs to produce so much oxytocin that you're actually forcing it, enslaving it to produce oxytocin, to produce insulin, or produce whatever socially acceptable hormone that you want it to produce that day. You have enslaved your body. That's the slavery and the rape of the medical holistic energy healing world, on top of bodies that don't fucking understand how they need to operate. And so let me write this down. Yes. Forcing the body to produce oxytocin or whatever hormone is desired that day or daily, you have enslaved the body and forced it to produce against its will, like the 1860s slavery system. That's what's going on. And so then what happens is when you finally exhaust all the resources in the body, then the body goes into an immunological deficiency. And then that's when the cancer is able to metastasize. And so forcing the body to produce oxytocin or whatever hormone is desired that day or daily, you have enslaved the body and forced it to produce against its will, like the 1860s slavery system. And then, when you're forcing the dogs or you or anyone else under the knife because you don't want to take care of your body, so then you enslave your body. Now you're forcing your body to get tortured by the medical holistic system. You have actually forced your body into slavery and going under torture. Even though it's under anesthesia, it doesn't matter. Your cells are fucking screaming at you. God, I should put also that, yeah. Let me put also that, yeah. Forcing the body. Oh yeah, forcing the body under the knife, called surgery, is torturing your cells. They are screaming at you. Impaling yourself with injections, regardless, is like stabbing yourself, voluntarily torturing your body. Torturing, your body will rebel against you. It is happening. We're still living in the 15th fucking century. But it's under the medical holistic energy healing world. Yeah. That's freaking insane. That's literally insane. That's what people do. We are still living in the 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th century. And it sucks. People have enslaved their bodies. They have enslaved their children's bodies. When you actually could put yourself in the position of what a cell has to deal with when they're seeing a knife coming down and slicing them. I've been watching Grey's Anatomy for the last month in March, part of April. And wow, that was a brainwashing, a conditioning like no other. Grey's Anatomy just not only trivialized, but really mainstream people torturing themselves in the medical, holistic, energy healing, surgical system, as well as our animals. Oh, so you think going to sleep and putting the cells asleep is making it better? No. It's like somebody taking you and using a roofie on you and then screwing you. It's like going to the club and someone putting roofies in your drink and then you're passed out, but they did shit to you. Like you roofied your body when you go under the knife and you put it under anesthesia. Essentially getting RAPED because it wouldn't allow it otherwise if you were fucking conscious. I got it right. Hold on. This is insane. This is literally insane. When you put your body under anesthesia, you have just roofied your body to get raped while unconscious. Because your body would not allow it if it was awake. Oh my God. When you put your body under anesthesia, you just roofied your body to get raped with while unconscious because your body would not allow it if it was awake. That's what you're now being woken up to. What you have allowed to happen in the starvation and the torture of your body through the medical, holistic, energy healing world. Oh my freaking God. Wow. Yeah. Anesthesia, roofie, what's the fucking difference? If you have to go to sleep, if you have to have someone put you to sleep in order for you to undergo something torturous and painful. See, I just go to sleep when I feel like my heart beating. I just go to sleep because I know that during that sleep, my body will repair itself. And I give it food, and I give it rest, and I give it release. But when I allow some government war proxy to go and give me anesthesia, to go inject me with something, to go cut into me, I am now torturing my own body voluntarily. And that's exactly what these people are fucking doing out there. That's exactly what is going on out there. And when you finally wake up to that notion, holy shit. Then you look at all the people that you bow down to that wear a white coat and a nurse and an outfit and everything. You'd be like, what the fuck did I follow? Why? But see, that's the thing. When your friends and family are in that system, you're not going to say anything to them. Well, first of all, because they're making a shit ton of money. You depend on that money. So you're not going to say a damn thing. But when you're outside of that situation, you're not dependent upon someone in the medical, holistic, energy healing world, and you look outside and you look in and you observe from a very different perspective, you would not allow someone to do that kind of shit to you, whether you're awake or sleeping. That's some fucking shit there, man. Holy crap. I just kind of put it all together, but I had to use an analogy that people are like, oh God, you got to put something over your drink so you don't get roofied. Well, what the hell is going through the surgical system? You're getting roofied in the fucking surgical system. You're getting voluntarily roofied. Now, I understand if you're in an accident and you have to get a bumper surgically taken out of your ass, I get that, okay? But when you are doing voluntary surgeries because you had a heart attack or a stroke, or you were told that something's falling apart, or it was voluntary because it wasn't like, oh, okay, you have to have a bumper surgically taken out of your ass, then you are voluntarily torturing yourself and signing on the dotted line and getting roofied in the process. And you're torturing, you're putting your body under that much duress. And you wonder why you're under the influence. And you wonder why you're making so much money. Because you're weakening somebody else's immune system through that aggressive stress and torture of the body, regardless if they're awake or asleep. That's why people are suffering. Not only are they starving, but they have tortured themselves and voluntarily roofied themselves through anesthesia. And then they bow down to all the white coats out there. I'm sure that's the only God that you can think of at this point, because you don't know how to deal with pain and suffering in food. You're starving, trying to look sexual and hot. You can't handle pain. You can't handle air, food, and water. You can barely even handle your own fucking life. You don't like strangers. You're afraid that the system is changing, so you're trying to resist it, and you don't have really the capacity to resist anything. But hey, you don't fucking know that because you're under the influence. You've been roofied by your friends and family who are selling you drugs and alcohol and distractions. Oh, it's crazy what's going on right now. And when you finally look at it from this perspective, you will be shocked at what you've accepted for fucking years. For years. And then you put your kids under that shit. People are torturing their own children with that shit. That's, when you finally look at it from that point of view, what you've done to your children, yourself, and your family, your friends, your mother, your father, your sister, your brother, your friends and family, whatever. That's why people are under the influence. Because they can't handle the shit they've done to themselves, the shit they've done to their children, the shit they've done to the people around them, to their animals. See, even though people did not like the fact that I did not treat my dog, I was true to my convictions and very consistent in my beliefs, and also consistent in the biophysics. People out there have animals and friends and family who are disposable. Well, I don't think of myself as disposable, and I don't think of anyone out there as disposable. People think of themselves as disposable, and they will roofie themselves, they will starve themselves, they will disfigure themselves in order to fit in, and they will torture themselves and their friends and family through the justification of being under the influence or roofied or under anesthesia in order to fit the fuck in. And they wonder why they don't like the system. Well, you are the system. You've accepted this for centuries. And you've allowed your girls to be tortured by the men, by the women. You've allowed your boys to be tortured by the medical, holistic, energy healing world. When you put your body under anesthesia, you've just roofied your body to get RAPED'd while unconscious, because your body would not allow it if it was awake. That should have been a major thing. When you have to be under anesthesia or under the influence, that means you're going against life. You're going against your body. You're committing transgressions. That's why people are suffering right now, because they have committed so many transgressions against their body, mind, and spirit. Starvation, cutting into themselves, even using intermediaries, mercenaries. I understand the reasoning why, but I don't care what the reasons are at this point, because the reasons are irrelevant at this point. Look at what you're doing. Everyone will find a reason, a justification of why they do what they do, and it'll be perfectly acceptable in different circles. But what you're actually doing is, like I said, you're raping the body, mind, and spirit, and you're forcing it under torturous types of things. But even the holistic world does it too, because they're forcing their kids to take elderberry syrup. They're shoving antibiotic herbal remedies down their kids' throat with the intention to suppress their immune system. So then they're holding on to these aggressive opposing forces that the body is desperate to release, and the parents are forcing that kid to deal with that bully in their body. It's like, I understand toughening up and that's it, but here's the thing. There's ways to strengthen yourself without torturing your kid. But again, that's the thing with this whole fine line between a hardship and not a hardship. And at this point, if you can grow up dealing with trying to expel the demons and deal with that hardship of eating all the food that's painful and releasing demons that's painful and being sick and facing that sickness, that could build character. And that's the hardship, where you have to deal with that, plus then your life, plus then keeping, everything else maintained. That's a hardship that will build character and innovation. But man, torturing someone by putting them under the knife, torturing someone by anesthetizing them through elderberry syrup, causing then this aggressive opposing force in their body to become so out of control down the road that it has to be forced to be under the knife and carved out, further weakening that kid and that person's immune system. That's what these parents are doing. They're developing an argument for died suddenly. They are developing a case for future died suddenlies. That's some crazy shit, man. I tell you, it's not just how you put things, it's the way you put things. And that's what you need to see. That's what every medical professional needs to fucking see. No, you're not God. You think you are, but you're not fucking God. When you think about it, you're like a mercenary for the system. You're getting paid a lot of money to release the demons from the world. That's what we're in. Right now, we're in a very Luciferian society that is in a depopulation agenda that is voluntary. You have to know what it is you're doing. You have to know how to characterize it. It's not always, I'm telling you, getting operations and getting all these drugs and alcohol and whatever isn't la la land. I mean, I guess it is up to a certain point, and then at some point, it's torture. People take advantage. Okay, hold on a second. That's some crazy shit. Give me 1 minute. I want to make sure this goes on my other page the way it is right now, because I don't want to forget. I know I can do it afterwards, but I want to do it now. And so, because even my Jilly Juice business page crowd, those who have blocked, needs to see this. Okay. All right. Because that's what people are doing. They're roofing their body when they're going under the knife and getting RAPED'd by the scalpel, by all the different instruments, getting things put in them, transplants, implants, all that shit. People are destroying their body. And then they blame somebody else for it. Oh, whoop-de-fucking-do. And so, yeah, this is not body shaming. This is survival. This is pure biophysics and finance. This is your fucking life. Just a heads up. Skinny people will age faster. The bigger people have money to burn or fat proteins to convert. You might be sexy now, skinny, right? And starving and sexual, but that only lasts so long. Then the environment, RAPESs, ravages you, causing accelerated aging and even died suddenly. Why do you think the skinny people who are under oncology don't last through those treatments? And why people who are bigger, like some of the men, can get like rounds and rounds and rounds of chemo and radiation and they're still fucking kicking, right? Why? Because they have more substance to them. But it's the skinny chicks that go under rounds and rounds of chemo, radiation, and other types of treatments, and they don't survive the treatments. There is an actual scientific reason behind that. And so your younger age, 30, might give you the perception you are healthy because you're skinny, using creams and whatever. But the environment will spend you out of existence as well as your lifestyle. Skinny was hot and sexy 50 years ago when you had Twiggy and you had Sharon Tate and all those models from the 1960s and 70s and 80s. Because it was a conditioning for you to starve and be socially acceptable. Get married, have children, and then die eventually, right? But hey, screw yourself on the way out the door. Now skinny will work against you. And it is. You literally have to eat for your lifestyle and the environment and gain some weight so you have energy or money to convert. You can't make something out of nothing, okay? This is all financial. And yeah, pretty girls are supposed to fart and shit. Some of you women don't want to fart in front of your man because he frowns on it. He's using you as a sex doll. He doesn't look at you as human. When you're afraid to gain weight because your man is so overbearing and he has to make you look like a sex doll to all of his friends, You're not only the arm candy, but the sacrificial lamb in that family. You're like a Lady Diana, a broad mare. You're just there to produce kids, make them look good, and then die. And then they will help you die. They'll take food away from you because you have to look sexy and skinny and sexual for all of his friends and family. And your job, too. That's the plight of women. They enslave themselves and they become the lamb. And then women teach that to their girls, to become the sacrificial lamb and use as a sex toy and then discard it. Yeah, after you have 50 million kids. It's no wonder these poor girls are starving and getting cancer and disease and struggling so hard with 50 kids. We did it to the women. Women, we did it to ourselves. It's time to change the culture, or you'll be screwed out of existence. So just so you can please your man in society. Skinny is deadly. Skinny, deadly in this climate. Skinny is extremely freaking deadly. And so, when I saw this from Daily Mail, now you know Daily Mail and YouTube and all these people, was it Newsweek, Daily Mail, BuzzFeed, I don't know. They play IFL Science. They play both sides of the fence. They'll give you both arguments, and whatever argument you identify with, you'll then glom onto and be like, oh, see, look, proof. See, Daily Mail said it. The news said it. TV said it. Whatever, right? And so Daily Mail said, scientists uncover missing link between junk food and cancer risk in young people. Why young people? Oh, because young people are deficient. They're malnourished. They don't have a completely developed immune system. And so when they're not allowed to cough, sneeze, and blow their nose, and mommy's giving them elderberry syrup and pineapple juice and Theraflu and all the frickin' herbs and extracts and everything else under the frickin' sun that have gotten their mommy and me groups, then they have this metastasizing opposing force, an unwanted guest in the body, that then when they eat food, it feeds that opposing force versus them, and then this is where they get the growth, and they're like, oh gosh, it's the food that did it. Well, yeah, when you keep an opposing force, when you host an unwanted guest in your body and you won't allow it to release because you've disabled the immune system, that's why they are now making this correlation equals causation, or a logical fallacy that the premise assumes the conclusion, and that's like fucked up logic, but that's also what the system uses to get people going down rabbit holes, and they don't ever come up for air and they suffocate in their fucking rabbit holes. And so I said, it's not the food, it's the fact the person is holding on to demons within. And yes, any food you eat will feed the demons. So let me give you what my perspective on this. So I know you're dying to hear it. You probably read it already. Food, disease, and logical fallacies. Now, I learned these names for reasoning through my arguments when I was arguing against those who were in CNN and Fox, or CNN back in the days when I was a right-wing conspiracy theorist. And I'd always be arguing with someone like, oh, I don't like Obama because he's this and that. Someone's like, oh, logical fallacy, logical fallacy. Oh, what's it, ad hominem and all that. You know, I'm just like, what the fuck? But I learned what those were. But why do you think fast food is more expensive? Because you're going to need it. You're starving, especially in this environment. I love me some McDonald's hamburgers and fries every so often, but I also eat meat. I mean, I just had a few things of steak with sauteed peppers and mushrooms and with the beef, and oh my gosh, and it even tastes so good when it's cold. I'm telling you, steak and peppers is such a good combination, and you don't need so much of it. I mean, now I can actually gain so much value from food and not so much of it because I have already enough. I don't need to have so much because I already have enough substance. I just keep maintaining based upon my lifestyle. My lifestyle is not aggressive. I don't need to eat as much, but my lifestyle was aggressive and I was out there. I'd have to eat a whole lot more to make up for whatever it is I'm using. Okay? And so I also eat meat, cream, milk, cabbage, and onions and potatoes, and they're also amazing. I like cheese and eggs. I like even tortillas. I'll eat tortillas. I like bell peppers and mushrooms and juice and carbs, like pasta, pizza. It's fucking amazing. That's why it kept me alive. That's what kept me alive and kept me so balanced and survived climate change without a diagnosable condition. And the food gave me clarity and clarity of thought and even intellectual capacity. So then when I'm reading stuff that I normally would have trouble getting through and comprehending the premise because it's science and stuff, right? Or it's jargon or it's some complicated physics concepts. I'm reading these complicated physics concepts. I'm like, oh, I fucking get it. I fucking get it. It's like, it's so amazing when you can finally read stuff that before it was harder to wade through, and now you get it. And you can actually even say it in your world, in your own terms. And so, yes, it can also reverse the aging process if you understand how to use food and manage a life in your body without raping it. No more anger, no more depression, no more love, love, love. All of those feelings and emotions are destructive. That's why fast food is more expensive, because you're effing starving. I may come off as aggressive, but I'm not angry, just so you know. I was a starving orphan in Vietnam. Yes, I came from the Vietnam War. Okay, I'm 50 years old. We're coming up now to the anniversary of the Vietnam War, April of 1975. I came here in May of 1975, and I was 15 months old. And I was starving. They called me a spider monkey. They thought even I was autistic at some point. But no, I was starving. I had to eat to build the fucking brain. So yes, I came from the Vietnam War. I came here in May of 1975. I was a starving orphan. I come to America and people choose to starve in America. That's effed up. That's when you know society is doomed, when the first world chooses to starve, raping their own body. If you have a food allergy, it's because you're starving. Gluten-free is starvation. Now look at your Facebook. Look at all the starving people on your Facebook. You wonder why they have so much disease and issues. They're starving. How ironic, the first world, who has so much money, chooses to starve. They put more money in beauty and baubles than they do their own fucking body. But they employ government war proxies to take out their organs piece by piece. And they call it healing. Oh, take out my thyroid, take out my breast, take out my appendix, take out my tonsils, take out my spleen, my gallbladder, my kidney, my liver, my heart. Holy crap. And then the organ market, the donor market, is like a multi-billion-dollar business that even Grey's Anatomy was like, yeah. I mean, this person, they can't wait to cut into somebody in Grey's Anatomy. They can't wait for someone to donate their organs. Someone comes in there, they're relatively healthy, and then they start dying in that show. Now I'm watching the HBO series 6 Feet Under that I used to watch way back in the early 2000s, and I didn't have time to watch it through the seasons because it was on HBO and I didn't have HBO, but I watched it through friends or something. And so now I'm binge watching 6 Feet Under. So that's where I got the whole thing about observer and change and all that stuff, and Schrodinger's cat. Well, I already knew about Schrodinger's cat, Schrodinger's concepts or formula, but there was another physics concept about observation that I learned from 6 Feet Under. So when I watch some of these shows that I binge watch, I will pull out things and I'm like, oh shit. And I'll go back and I'll go and reverse or rewind and hear that. Sometimes I don't get it like the first time because they go so fast and I'm like, fuck. And I'm trying to look for it on the internet, but I can't look for those exact words. So then I have to go and then just keep listening over and over until I get it. And then I go onto Google and I Google that information, about the physics of observation and change and all that. And I'm like, oh. So that's where I get my information. So when you're seeing me post stuff, it's like, yeah, I'm watching something on Netflix, but not just so I can just check out. I actually watch it to learn shit. Yeah, to be entertained too, but also learn something, because they're always giving you little jewels here and there. And then how you use and watch certain things will then either make you stupider or make you smarter. It's all up to you. Okay? So how ironic, in the first world, who has so much money, choose to starve. They put more money in beauty and baubles than they do their own fucking body, but they employ government war proxies to take out their organs piece by piece, and they call it healing. But hey, they look sexy, right? They take away a rib. Oh, look how sexy I am. That's all Hollywood too. What a sexy corpse. Yeah, your priorities are effed, first world. But you probably knew that. So you feel backed into a corner, and you'll justify everything and then blame somebody else and then hate someone for pointing out the obvious. And so basically, I am, therefore I am. Scientists are discovering circular reasoning as a way to depopulate the people. When you hold demons within and you don't release them, every food will be suspect feeding the demons. Food isn't poison. People hold on to the bullshit. And some are like, oh yeah, sugar feeds the cancer. Well, no shit. Cancer is an immortalized germline cell. It has DNA ladders, glucose ladders with hydrogen bonds of Gattaca. guanine, thymine, adenine, and you have the uracil as the evolution, DNA, RNA. Yeah, sugar will feed you and will feed cancer, but you got to expel the cancer and feed you. But that's how people's perceptions of food is. They don't understand. They hold on to the fucking demon. Food isn't poison. People hold on to the bullshit. People disable their immune system from releasing, so they hold on to opposing forces and then blame everything out there. It's like when someone harbors an unwanted guest in their house, but they keep feeding that unwanted guest in that house, and then they blame the food for keeping that unwanted guest alive. So then, what do they do in reaction? So they stop buying groceries for themselves and the guest, thinking they're going to hurt that guest, but they don't realize they're also hurting themselves. They starved both of them out because both were under one roof. But then if that guest is stronger than you, that guest will then eat you. So now imagine now the guest is starving, right? And you're starving, but you're not strong enough to eat the guest, but the guest is strong enough to eat you. You're going to get cannibalized by that guest and they'll take over your fucking house. And that's the vital organ failure. So they starved both of them out because both of them were under one roof. That's the same idea as attacking the cancer and unwanted guests in your body. You also attack yourself when you attack cancer. You hurt yourself when you take drugs and alcohol and dieting. All your diagnosable conditions are because you hold that unwanted guest inside you and you cannot handle the pain of suffering, of gaining you back and releasing that demon. Gaining your life back. Expel the unwanted guest. Problem solved, but it's not as easy as it sounds. Nothing worth doing is ever fucking easy. You realize how hard it was the last 7 years for me to even develop this? You know how it was the last 3 years to finally face my demons? Because I did put it to sleep for a minute with the J juice. Because we weren't in a pandemic at the time from 2016 to 2019. So even though I did release some demons, I did put myself in some type of relative curative state that I was still pooping and eating stuff. But then the climate changed and oh my God, holy shit. The pandemic brought up all those demons that were put to sleep and I had to finally face them. And it was brutal. And it was formidable. And some people who don't understand the methods that I used by delivering myself, by pulling out that crap, that's what saved me. Like, literally, I would have died probably back in July of 2022. Because I was so stuck. Well, my dog helped me out because she kept me moving. If I stopped moving and just laid in that bed, I would have been either dead or dying or had a heart attack or stroke. My husband would have come home from the road and found a corpse in the bed. If it wasn't for my dog and it wasn't for me delivering myself, pulling out the shit that was causing that craziness. That's the demon that you have to progressively pull out. That's delivering yourself from evil, literally. And so nothing worth doing is ever fucking easy. So people take the easy way out. They don't take the hard way because mommy and daddy didn't give them the opportunity to learn the hard way. Our society doesn't work like that or think like that. So they will blame everything under the sun until they destroy themselves and starve themselves. Why is so-called junk food more expensive than organic food? Because so-called junk food has complex elements and nutrition that most people are deficient in and they can't handle the life. They can't handle nutrition. They're only relegated to air sandwiches and celery stalks, and then they are starving and then they pass away. And then they use food as medicine. And they say use food as medicine. What they do, they amplify certain spices and foods to make it so aggressive that it's antibiotics, so it actually disables your immune system from producing pain receptors to let you know the body's trying to release, and then you have to still eat food to then retain. So what do? They eat spicy food. What do you think? Indian foods with all the curries and all the spicy cayenne pepper, jalapenos, serrano peppers. All that spicy food not only develops offspring, but it also is extremely antibiotic. And when you put an antibiotic and probiotic together, you're developing an offspring that you have to either raise it to work for you, or it doesn't have a job and it's working against you, and it becomes that unwanted guest in your body that people are now fighting and carving out by being roofied by the surgical system. Now, I'm just going to say that, yes, anesthesia is basically roofied. Because what do the roofies do? It's to make the person unconscious so the person can do whatever the fuck they want to them out there in the dating world. That's basically what a state-sanctioned roofing is. And you have licensed professionals to go and RAPED you with scalpels and instruments and whatever else. And then they say, use food as medicine. Basically weaponizing food against the body. That's how the system got the holistic people. That's why I said I made mistakes in the past. I traded one addiction for the other. No more holistic system for me. They got the holistic system to weaponize the food against the body by mixing it with such aggressive, influential ingredients that stops the body from releasing. They basically turn the food antibiotic. And so, because when you take medicine, you have the purpose or the intention to RAPE the body, mind, and spirit, forcing it to do what it was not conditioned to do. You're forcing the blood vessels to either vasodilate or vasoconstrict based upon your intention. So when you think about the actual mechanism of RAPE out there in the sexual world, when a man does that to a woman or even a man does that to a man, you're forcing cavities to open so the person can enter into them. Well, when you're forcing the blood vessels to open or close based upon the intention, that's RAPE in an inverted and an inverted way. Or disabling the life and immunological mechanism of your body, using creams and other aggressive elements against the life trying to leave the body. People push the demons back in their body all the time. That's the hydrocortisone creams, that's the steroid creams, that's all the essential oils, that's the cannabis oil market. That's even the VACCINES is forcing your body to activate, and you're impaling yourself too. And maybe it wasn't prepared to, especially during climate change. Climate change has caused excessive growth and accelerated growth that people cannot get ahead of. But again, you would have to find the correlation equals causation situation. But remember, if you're going to blame the VACCINESs, then every single therapy is in question. No discrimination when it comes to therapy. The RAPE of the body, the mind, and the spirit. That includes the herbalist market, the supplements market, RAPING in the body, mind, and spirit. That includes all the concoctions that these holistic people sell to their friends and family over the internet, making claims. All the mommy and me groups selling elderberry syrup to their friends and family. You are RAPING in the body, mind, and spirit, causing future situations. The holistic and medical system is consensual RAPE of the body, mind, and spirit. Forcing your kids under the knife because you can't teach them to cough, sneeze, and blow their nose. You give them cough suppressants, or you get vacuums to suck out the fucking mucus, which means you're stopping the mechanism releasing the demons, and you're keeping those demons inside. Anytime you suppress sneezing and coughing, you cause the person to metastasize cancer, future cancer. Parents do that to their children, or they give their kids pineapple juice to stop them from coughing, so that kid is now forced to deal with that demon inside, and it's fucking torturing them. But parents don't understand because they don't know what they're doing. Consequently, you employ government war proxies to take out the organs or disable their immune system, one organ at a time until they have no immune system left. And then you blame the government when you're the one that signed on the dotted line and gave your kids away to science and medicine. Because you as a mother had no idea what the heck you were doing. You just had a baby because everyone else was having babies. And you wanted to be trendy and in. Oh, I get it. Or you wanted to be somebody or something. I understand. It's also the fathers. Is it also the fathers? I suppose, but the mothers are the ones who choose to have the children or not. That's why I stay far away from people who are against food, who are so picky about their food, and they say they don't eat meat, milk, or cheese. I don't advocate starvation, even in the third world. The people in the third world countries starve themselves, and they can't afford to, but their religion told them to. People in first world countries starve themselves. So I stay away from the starvation artists. But the system will play both sides of the fence because they know a sucker is born every minute. And somebody will inevitably feel vindication and say, oh, here looks proof. Even Daily Mail said it. Why they have issues. Confirmation bias. Logical fallacy and circular reason. When the premise assumes a conclusion, when you assume correlation equals causation, that's the activism world when you blame only one thing, tunnel vision, or they will blame several things at a time but focus on each one as if it was independent of the other. They'll blame the vaccines, they'll blame the food, they'll blame the water, they'll blame the air. So essentially they're saying they can't handle the environment. They're saying they're not fit to live in any society because there will always be something wrong with it. Something will always be wrong with it. They will take themselves out of the gene pool and inevitably take their children out of the gene pool. I reiterate, the scary thing is people blame food for their issues, so they stop eating food. Yeah, you're starving, that's your issue, and they don't want to feel pain, so they take drugs and antibiotics and use food as medicine, and they stop eating food. And you wonder why they start looking like beef jerky or gain weight astronomically, because they can't release the demon. It's too painful to release that demon. And when people are missing electrolytes and so many different nutritional elements that they've been told was poison, it becomes pretty sad to watch people starve themselves and claim they're all about life. No wonder they are heavily religious, because religion gave them the absolution. That's why you were given religion. And so the people who die suddenly were living on borrowed time. So now let's take it to finances. And you could be 99, could be 90 and die suddenly. Because, yeah, dying suddenly is dying suddenly. You just drop dead. Okay? Dead is sudden, even though it's like you expect it, but you weren't expecting it at that moment. Do you know that you're going to die at 12 o'clock midnight on, Monday, August 4th? No, you don't know that. There's no way to fucking know that. So any kind of death is a sudden death. The system was slowly heating up, accelerating time. People kept resisting the changes because they were told to, but the environment was slowly becoming more aggressive, which is why you saw an increase in cancer and disease and dying prematurely. Why is it prematurely? Because you thought you had more time. No one knows when exactly they're going to die if they're already deteriorating, unless they get the death penalty. Then there's an actual date. Just like when you have a baby and you get a C-section, then you actually have an actual date of when the body is getting cut into to have that baby cut out of you. Okay? Premature is still all relative to expectation. And of course, context matters. So the medical and holistic system, energy healing world, is like a bank giving out credit. But little do the people know they couldn't afford the credit these hospitals and holistic people were giving them, like subprime loans. People weren't ready for the interest rates to go up, or the increase in the acceleration of the environment and time, causing the increase in the aging process or entropy. Ultimately died suddenly before they were ready, or in the financial world, upside down on the loans, owing more than it was worth, and then going bankrupt because the payments were too high. Payments were too high. The interest rates become so astronomical, just like climate change right now. Somebody pushed a lever and accelerated the payment system. The climate determines how much pain or payment you will still owe Mother Nature. People could live an amazing life 30 years ago doing what they're doing today, but they couldn't live the same way today like they did 30 years ago. See, I have all these gifts of knowledge and, balance, and I have conditioning for pain and suffering, and I know how to release demons and balance, and I wish the environment would just be like it was 30 years ago, so I can take this newfound gift that I was given the last 7 years, and do something amazing without having to go to bed every so often and deal with the climate change. But no, that's not how shit works. I wasn't meant to I was meant to keep struggling and gain more the strength and all that. Okay, the system knows what the fuck it's doing. And so those that had all the pleasure in paradise that didn't have my struggles 30 years ago are now going to be struggling because they didn't pay the piper right off the bat. They kept taking loans against their life. And so now when the climate changes and they've accelerated the interest rates or accelerated the environment, now they're in major debt. They're in payment. They may have to go bankrupt and they have to die suddenly because they couldn't really afford their life, but they were told they could afford their life, but not really because the climate changed. And so the climate determines how much pain or payment you will still owe Mother Nature. People could live an amazing life 30 years ago, but they couldn't live the same way today like they did 30 years ago. People have to change if they want to survive, and they have to support those changes effectively, even aggressively. Everything is connected. Why are so many people suffering? Because they owe Mother Nature. Why are people aging out in the system? Because Mother Nature takes her due. If you're not suffering, she's taking from you. You better have resources to make sure you keep replenishing resources used for your life. Yeah, you need food. You can't eat Chanel bags. It's all those materialistic people who collect shit. And so living on borrowed time is enjoying life on credit, which is why you must eat for an accelerated environment, because the energy conversion in this environment is so highly influential and aggressive. People burn more than what they have, and then they have vital organ failure. People's immune systems are in resistance, which is causing breakage. Or they have a rupture in blood vessels because the clot's growth expanded astronomically overnight. I had a few hives yesterday. I felt great. I mean, you saw what I was posting and everything. was going through my mind watching that one concept about physics of observation and how that makes a person smarter or dumber, it just depends. But also reflecting all the different diet suddenlies and reminding people that you're still not out of the fucking woods, okay? The people around you that are dying suddenly and they're your age, you have to identify with them, because that maybe might give you a clue that if you don't change, you're going to end up just like those diet suddenlies out there. And so I had a few hives, no big deal. And then that it was so weird. I started itching. I just had spaghetti. I was eating spaghetti yesterday because I had with mushrooms and everything else. And then right after eating, because that food gave my immune system fuel. And so then this scar here, which it was been pretty okay before, it was going to be raised a little bit, but no, it was so itchy. It was itchy and it was white and it was raised. And I'm thinking, oh, what is it? Is it like a keloid? Because I know keloids happen. I knew someone back in the military that they had all these keloids, and every so often they have to get operation to remove them because they cut themselves shaving. And since they were a certain culture that was prone to keloids, they had all these things are growing from their face. And even other people that were maybe not as ethnic, I guess, they were lighter skinned or something, they would get keloid from a scar, but it wouldn't be like something like these huge growths. So I was thinking like, oh shit, am I going to get a keloid, 2 years later when my dog scratched me? But no, it finally went down, and now it's nothing. It was nothing. But yesterday it was itchy and it was white, and I was like, oh my God, it's so weird. All right, it's like a hypertrophic scar tissue when you think about it. It's a bunch of connective tissue, a bunch of collagen that collected in that one place for whatever reason. And then that was the itchiness and whatever. And so you must look at your body as a bank account. If you're on cures, you bought on credit, and one day Mother Nature will call in the loan. People right now cannot afford the payment or payment. And so, since I look at physics and I look at how physics and motion and energy and all that work together, you can say in electronics or other contexts, industrial stuff, but you also look at it in biophysics, okay? And your cells are like a hamster wheel. It's energy, and there's different mechanisms and things that go on. And so I was Googling, kinetic energy and relative mass and motion and momentum and all this stuff. And I know that even the cells go through this work, just like when you go and work or work out, and kinetic energy and getting paid for your job. The relationship between microbial energy conversion and mass, kinetic, and momentum and energy conversion is quite intricate. In microbial energy conversion processes, microorganisms convert chemical energy from biomass into biofuels like ethanol to hydrogen. That involves complex biochemical reactions where mass transfer and energy conversion are critical factors. And that's also thermodynamics. That's the entropy. That's why you're always going to be in deficit. That's why negative times a positive will always be a negative. That negative means you're in deficit. You always have to keep making up for that deficit. And it's a constant tennis match. Back and forth. Positive, negative, positive, negative. But you have so many negatives, and it might turn into a positive, but you might die. So just having so many positive isn't always good, because then that positive will turn into a negative when it finally eats all the resources and it shuts down the immune system. Having so many negatives is not good either. So you have to always jockey between the two, and you're always going to be in deficit, which means that then when you realize that the climate has changed, causing the energy conversion to be even more accelerated, you then have to now modify your behavior so that way you can keep making up the resources lost from the environment, from your lifestyle, belief system, everything. And so then you have to take everything into account. Yeah. And so you have to understand things from a physics point of view. And so what is mass transfer? This refers to the movement of compounds across the cell membrane. In microbial energy conversion, the rate of mass transfer can be a limiting factor. For instance, the high resistance of cell membranes, micropores, can limit the mass transfer rate of CO2 molecules, which is essential for the production of biodiesel and biogas. And then there's kinetic and momentum. These aspects relate to the movement and speed of the microbial reactions. For example, vortex flows across cell membranes, micropores can enhance mass transfer, thereby influencing the kinetics of the microbial conversion process. So energy conversion is always using up energy. You have to have energy to be able to produce energy. And so there's always going to be something you're taking when you're producing. And so you always have to make sure that you always have something that you can take to produce. And when you don't have any more things to take to produce, then that's called equilibrium. That's basically 0 Kelvin. That's this. That's what the Illuminati in the, with all the MK Ultra and all the Illuminati people are like, this is okay Kelvin. This is 0 Kelvin. This is okay. This is satanic, right? All right. So energy conversion. This is the transformation of one form of energy into another. In the context of microbial energy conversion, it involves converting the chemical energy stored in organic matter into usable forms of energy like biofuels. However, challenges such as low biocatalytic activity or intracellular enzymes and competition between multiple intracellular reaction pathways can hinder efficient energy conversion. Okay, so if you're low on fuel, how the hell are you going to, go through those processes? So starvation is not helping people. Obviously, skinny people are not helping themselves. They have nothing to convert. You can't make something out of nothing, again. And so overall, the efficiency of microbial energy conversion is influenced by how effectively these processes manage mass transfer and overcome the kinetic and energy barriers to optimize the conversion of chemical energy into biofuels. Research this field aims to understand and improve these mechanisms to enhance the production of renewable energy from microbial resources. And you can't afford to fucking starve. But these skinny chicks have to look sexual. And sex also causes major energy conversion. So girls get screwed out of existence. And they have 1 billion babies, and so those babies take from them. All right. Someone died over there in Parma, which is like near Cleveland, where I live. What did I say? Do you notice the pattern? The eclipse totality ran across the same path as these tornadoes. We've had so many tornadoes the last couple of days. It's crazy. Why is it? I'm not really laughing to laugh, but it's just like, it's predictable. We'll see what happens to Trump. He's right now with OJ dead and all of that. Then you have Trump getting a 12-person jury and 6 alternates to go and judge his situation. Will he get off? Will he not? We'll see. 1984, when you are observed by authority and people will act true to their intentions even when they try to hide it, because what you don't say speaks volumes, probably even more than what you do say. The observation of society is supposed to change the course of humans, and it is. Evolution has been accelerated. I hope you survive it. Okay? And Schrodinger. Okay? I see people talk about Schrodinger's cat, Schrodinger's, concepts, formula. And I want to understand what it is. So, I look at it one day and then I go and I get away from it and then I look at it again in a different way. And so the Schrodinger equation is a function of Newton's law and energy conservation in classical mechanics. Okay? And it predicts the potential behavior of a complex system. Remember, chaos is still predictable because it still has energy feedback loops. It still has catalysts. So even chaos has some kind of predictable outcome. Synchronized chaos is telling you there's something predictable because it's synchronized in a specific way with an intention and outcome. So the Schrodinger equation is a function of Newton's law and energy conservation in classical mechanics. And it predicts the potential behavior of a complex system. And there are very specific behaviors, lifestyles, and belief systems that will elicit a very predictable result. Take, for example, resistance. The system has done so many experiments around resistance, and they know the outcomes, death and destruction. Now look at all the people in the Alex Jones world. We're the resistance. Yeah, you're about death and destruction. Okay? You speak what it is that your intention is. You tend to resist, you won't survive. That's the medical holistic energy healing world. Take, for example, resistance. Resistance elicits a very predictable result. That's the weapon of mass destruction. The system is changing. People are resisting. They know you will not survive if you are in resistance. The medical holistic energy healing world in politics, religion, and science is resistance to change. Your outcomes of death are extremely predictable because of what you've practiced ever since you can remember. Resisting evolution and change equals the morgue or died suddenly. And so Schrodinger's cat could say that something could be alive and dead at the same time. But the only way to know for sure is through observation. So through observation, then yes, there's confirmation. But also when the light of your photons observing something will actually change it. Observation can actually change things. It's still energy. That's what's crazy. So the difference is knowing that which brings into existence a specific outcome that was highly predictable, but it wasn't guaranteed unless you've done experiments over and over again with similar control groups. But even then, observation brings something to life. Acknowledging brings into existence. Acknowledging that the existence of death brings it to life. That's the irony of acknowledging death. You bring it to life, but is it really life? Well, that's how life and death can exist simultaneously in the same context. And so Schrodinger's cat is a famous thought experiment that demonstrates the idea in quantum physics and tiny particles, that tiny particles can be in two states at once until they're observed. It asks you to imagine a cat in a box with a mechanism that might kill it until you look inside. The cat is both alive and dead at the same time. Okay? And so when you think about your kids and they know you're watching them, they're going to act a specific way. When they don't know you're watching, they act a different way. So the notion that someone is watching you, that's even on my Facebook. People that come through the back way, and I know who they are. They're lawyers in the anti-V world. They're Hollywood stars. They're trolls. They're critics. They're whatever, and they're watching me through the back way. I know who they are, and I'm letting you know I know who you are. I don't care. I'm not going to call you out. But it also does change the way I say things, and I'll speak to your listening. And so when you see me cover certain things that I didn't cover before, it's because I know who's watching me. So it changes even the way I present arguments because I'm taking them into account. They're watching me and speaking to their listening to my audience. Okay? And so that's the thing about being observed is people will act certain ways. And so ignorance and awareness could be a weapon of mass destruction if you don't understand how it's used to your benefit. It is the law of physics. The very act of observation changes that which is being observed. That's what I kept going in reverse and rewind on 6 Feet Under. When, what's her name? I forget her name. Kept saying that because that was her childhood. She was always observed and picked apart, and she scored high on some biased, intelligence test. And then she was saying, it is the law of physics. It's the fucking law of physics. The very act of observation changes that which is being observed. I'm like, what? And I had to keep rewinding that so I can get it. And it took me at least 6 or 7 times to rewind it and even try to look for it so I could get an easier way to look at it through the words, but I couldn't find even that exact sentence on the internet. So I went back and I rewound and read it again and listened to it again and then even wrote it out. So what I wrote out there was going through word by word by word. And so it is a law of physics. The very act of observation changes that which is being observed. The observer effect. So I even Googled that. The observer effect is the idea that observing a phenomenon or situation changes it. This effect is especially prominent in physics, where observation and uncertainty are fundamental aspects of modern quantum mechanics. For example, when we see an electron, a photon must first interact with it, and this interaction will change the path of that electron. Isn't that freaking insane? So just even observing something, you change. You change it. Even speaking something, you change it. In other words, when you observe your children and their behaviors, and the children know it, they are playing to your expectations until they're out of your line of sight. Then they do whatever they want to do, which is why parents don't believe their children do anything wrong because they never observe it. Another example, when you are aware of who's watching you, you will play to people's experiences. You will play to their world. I do it all the fucking time. I see who's watching. Whether the back door or the front door, I know who's watching and who's not, who's coming on, who's coming off. I speak to all of you guys. That's why some people are like, is she talking to me? Well, fuck yeah. If I see you, you'll bring up everything that I know about you. You'll bring up experiences and even, things that you've said on your Facebook that will then give me more, more confirmation or even examples of situations that I need to find examples for. And you guys are fucking amazing for that. And so I'll play to your world. When you are unaware of people around you and the world you live in, you will only play to your belief systems until you get exposed to other ones. Because even if you disagree and are in resistance, you are still acknowledging their world exists. Therefore, you gave it energy, credibility, and life, and then there's room for discussion. Children who are aware of who's watching them play to their parents' expectations and ignorance. And so an electron is detected upon interaction with a photon. This interaction will inevitably alter the velocity and the momentum of that electron. It is possible for other, less direct means of measurement to affect the electron. It is also necessary to distinguish clearly between the measured value of a quantity and the value resulting from the measurement process. In particular, a measurement of momentum is non-repeatable in short intervals of time, which means awareness is the first step in any sort of change. But if you resist change, despite the awareness based upon observation, you still made a choice, and you can never unknow something. Over time, that observation will eat away at you until you figure out that solution to that awareness. Okay? So when people block me, I'm still in their head, and they can try to deny it and resist it, but I'm still in their head. My information is still in their head. They still have to fight with it. Some people will succumb to it and let it destroy them. Others will try to block it and forget it, but I don't know how you're going to do that unless you get dementia. Okay. So in particular, measurement of momentum is non-repeatable in short intervals of time. Well, anyways, or else you'll be in resistance and then destroy yourself. Okay? That's why the internet exists, because once you observe and become aware of something you never knew, you have no excuse. You either explore it or you resist it and destroy yourself. Ignorance and awareness could be a weapon of mass destruction if you don't understand how to use it to your benefit. The fact you know people observing you will also change your behavior, and you observing other people changes their behavior. Will it change for your benefit or their benefit? Will the change be to your benefit or somebody else's? Which is why you get exposed to diversity, because it will change you regardless if you agree or disagree with what you observe. Even resistance is acknowledgement. Even resistance brings to life something that you're either going to resist it and die or assimilate and adapt to it and live. And the system knows people. They know how people react. They know their lifestyle, their belief systems, their deficiencies. So, yeah, people are pretty manipulated. All right. So I went on to World Health Organization, and they're like, oh, is there a vaccine? A new vaccine has been approved for children from 6 to 16 years of age in high dengue transmission areas. And so vaccines should be combined with integrated mosquito control. This is the World Health Organization. And so I said, how do vaccines work in conjunction with climate change? If the system admitted particle acceleration caused aggressive immune system activation, even in the vaccinated or unvaxxed, you would have to develop a very compelling argument why you shouldn't be recommending these to immunocompromised people. All right, weather engineering, cloud brightening, and our very lifestyle are contributing to so much immune system activation. But you need to isolate the argument relative to the catalyst and then question the methods used. And if the intention is to develop so much growth called antibodies, is getting a vaccine causing the accelerated mechanisms people can't get ahead of called blood clots or cancers or disease or heart attacks or strokes? Could you prove that not getting a vaccine, the person would not suffer from these conditions? Which means you have to find those who are not vaccinated with relatively the same conditions and juxtaposition their outcomes. But you'd have to take into account climate change in that area and how much particle acceleration happened during a specific time. You'd have to identify the control groups and make sure you are comparing apples to apples. Because if California is getting less frequencies than Ohio, are you comparing the right control groups? So when I'm looking at the map of the future weather and it's showing that's hotter, it's going to be hotter in the Midwest and a little bit of the surrounding areas like Texas and Kentucky and West Virginia, but then supposedly less heat in Florida, which it's all relative anyways, and California. We think Florida and California have a lot more of a sensitive population, and even though you don't want to blast them with such aggressive heat because you'll lay them out, even the less heat that they're getting relative to us is still laying them out, but just in a progressive, slower form. And so, because if California is getting less frequencies than Ohio, are you comparing the right control groups? So you couldn't even compare regions with outcomes of therapies, regardless of where they come from. You would have to look at the people in your area and take notes of people's situations, lifestyles, and belief systems, and hypothesize a theory as to why vaccinations should not be recommended or they should be recommended. It's a whole lot, especially when you have the hidden hand influencing particles and climate in your area. And it can be different everywhere. That's why not everyone is getting the crazy reactions, because it's all relative to your immune system and your substance and your background and your lifestyle, belief systems, and your weight and all of that. And so, but when you look at control groups that you see, like within your circle of friends, and you're seeing a pattern that your circle of friends, it's the skinny guys and the skinny girls that either died suddenly or succumbed to the treatment, and you see the people that were bigger were able to handle the treatments and are still able to handle the treatments, and they're still living despite them. Then you're seeing that weight is a factor in survivability and background, even gender, I suppose. Okay? So that's how you would hypothesize what would be appropriate as far as recommending. But even then, you still couldn't. You'd have to let the medical system do that. But yeah, trying to compare yourself to someone in California, if you're in Ohio, that's comparing apples to oranges. Okay. It has to be people in your circle. And you look at the patterns in your circle. And so if you only have a very small circle, you don't have a control group. It's when then you look at your Facebook, but then they're all over, but then you have to look in your own world. And if you don't know enough people in your own world, then there's nothing to compare. You don't know what you're comparing to. Okay. All right. Telomere lengthening means you take on a new immortalized germline cell with newly evolved downline of somatic cells that will redouble itself 50 times over until the next change or evolution. That is surpassing the Hayflick limit. Leonard Hayflick. And you cannot be in starvation or raping your body, mind, and spirit in the medical, holistic, energy healing therapies world. Immortality is earned. It is not given. You have to earn your place into the new world. That requires work. Some people don't understand adaptation is work. And you have to lessen the material world and cut down on so many things if you want to surpass the Hayflick limit. But you need every bit of food. You cannot afford to be food intolerant or surround yourself by vectors of influential energy looking to take over you. By the way, transhumanism is not immortality. So I don't care what Elon Musk said about putting a chip in your brain. Oh yeah, we're not going to be immortal. No, that's not immortality. That's virtual immortality, but it's not biophysical immortality. It's raping the body with technology using implants to control your hormones. That's transhumanism. That is not true biological immortality. That's virtual immortality. Because somebody else has the power to switch you off, or your immune system will reject whatever it is that you're doing. Holding on to implants and transplants and whatever else you've done in the surgery industry, the immune system will want to reject it at some point. Because in order for you to keep those implants or surgeries in place, you have to take immune suppressing drugs, or drugs to then force the body to open or close or develop hormones. That literally is working against your life. That's the drug and cures industry. You never, ever give someone the power over your immune system to reject your life, ever. You need to adapt to your external environment and feed your internal environment. And don't give anyone that power to turn you off internally. If you are suffering right now, you have done so much damage to your body. It is trying to repair itself. You have to give it all food and release and repair and retain and rebuild. And good luck. Your family will have an issue with you trying to do that, because you won't be able to handle the pain. You'll bitch and moan and say this and that, and they'll be like, go get treated. I can't listen to you anymore. And so, yeah, you can't rely on sirens. You must be weather aware. And yes, you have your nose stuck to technology. It means the difference between life and death. Okay? So in some places, they don't have the sirens. I don't hear sirens. I have to keep looking. Even my weather app is having issues with updates. So I have to go to the internet to go look at the Weather Channel weather app to see any moving storms. So the system, so now you have to not only find the information or look outside and be aware of the weather. So I already see that we're going to have a projected frost this weekend. It'll be 39 degrees and it's going to be freezing. And then it'll get hot again and there'll be another fucking storm, another tornado that's going to happen next week. So I'm already like just living out of suitcases and backpacks at this point, because I'm going to have to inevitably go and pack again to go down to the basement and wonder if my house doesn't keep standing. But right now, Ohio is the new tornado alley because we're going through smart city. What is it? Build Back Better First is destruction, then is reconstruction. We're in the Civil War. All right, so you have to prepare yourself. And I don't care. See, Jane was saying, bless her heart, and I mean that nicely. Jane Driscoll over there. I think she's in Scotland. Anyways, she was saying it was on purpose. And I'm like, it doesn't matter if the system is purposely not giving you the warning through those tornado sirens, or you have the means to either look outside or have some kind of technology to give you some kind of like update. You know, stay home, stay safe, or run for cover, whatever the hell it is. But I've seen the arguments in some of these threads. They're like, well, I don't want my kid to be stuck to technology. I don't want to be stuck to a phone. I want to live like we're in 1985 and have no phone. So when you play that game, if you're not going to look at your phone and you want to be away from the internet, away from Facebook, away from whatever, because you want to play that because you're like rejecting the new world, then yeah, a tornado can come out of the blue in like a day or so. And you won't get the warnings. But when you're told that there might be something, you know, and I see now with the warnings, it's like 2% chance or something percent. It's like a 2. Was a tornado 2? I will assume, and I'll look at the weather map and see the Doppler, and I'll watch it go through, and I'll watch even things appear out of nowhere at a certain time. I'm like, where the hell? Well, I know where that come from, but it's all speculation. Oh, lasers. Okay. So lack of preparation is no excuse. You're being warned. You have to have some kind of technology by your side. You have to have your nose stuck to something to save yourself, regardless if it's on purpose or by accident. And you can't prove either one. So what's the point? You can't make claims. I learned that from the Federal Trade Commission. You can't make fucking claims. Well, that's no different than the conspiracy world saying that it was done on purpose or by accident. You can't make claims. You can't prove it. Not in a court of law, not when the system built the court of law. Okay? So then what's the system trying to do? Condition you to listen to them. That's what the system is doing, is condition you to listen to them. If you don't listen to the system in certain instances that you have to figure out which ones they are, then the outcome, the consequences is death, destruction. And that's a hard lesson to learn because people don't survive learning those lessons. And so, horror as father-to-be dies on flight with pregnant wife. And so another died suddenly. People don't know the kind of danger they're in. Let me tell you, only a few of you can understand my information, which is why I'm not a threat to the system. But you'll see the confirmation and the proof of my claims. So many people are dying suddenly because of their lifestyle and belief systems, and you can't tell them anything because they won't change. But you'll see the outcome of their intention. I can't imagine everyone is living under a rock out there, but I think most of society has put their heads in the sand. So just by proxy, they are living under a rock with their head in the sand. Even some people in the Jilly Juice world will end up this way, dying suddenly. Not all of you, but many of you. You literally have to change the way you do shit, literally. I can't say if you can handle pain and suffering and release in all food. You have to be the one to determine that. You have to understand the power of milk and meat and cheese and eggs and not treating disease if possible. You have to understand the power of rest, staying home and staying safe. I'm telling you, I'm preparing you for the worst. You literally have to help yourself give birth to yourself. When doctors and nurses have to put their hands on you to remove constipation and fecal material, when people are you're using instruments like enemas, now you must understand the power of releasing those demons without relying on instruments and strangers. And you need all food. You need cough and sneeze and blow your nose. That's what you were never told. Many of you are full of shit and not enough food, and you're suffering astronomically under the influence. Heart attacks and strokes is the body going through an immunological response to try to save you from those blood clots. So constricted colon is constricted blood vessels. You have to give your body the resources to survive those sudden events. You must have some weight to you, no fear. This world, pain-free, is a false sense of security. Asymptomatic is a false sense of security. You haven't earned the right to be asymptomatic in a dynamic world. You have to survive hell. The rapture is the rupture. And that's what's going on. This kid was raptured. When you think about it, he was ruptured. And so that's kind of the short of the long of it. That's pretty much it. But yeah, now you're going to realize that yes, the medical holistic system roofies people so they can torture them through cutting into them in starvation. And so when you think about the rape of the body, mind, and spirit, it is through the medical holistic energy healing world. And the surgeons roofie their patients. And so it's all the same stuff. It's socially acceptable to be roofied by a surgeon, to be under anesthesia. so they can do something to you that you would not ordinarily accept. And that's pretty fucking sad. But you can't tell these people this. You can't tell them anything. They're over the rainbow. Like literally, most of your friends and family out there are over the rainbow. They have been lobotomized. Even the ones that say that, oh yeah, the system lobotomized you. Yeah, when you're starving, recommending herbal remedies and starvation, saying that food is poisoning, when you're out there pointing at the chemtrails, and you're starving, and you're aging, you've been lobotomized because you've starved yourself. I can speak from experience because I played those games. And I see the evidence out there. And I see how many people are so dependent on the medical holistic system. No different than when they go to the bar and they just leave their drink out and someone just puts a little freaking thing in there so they can do whatever the hell they want. That's what they do to their friends and their family and their children. They allow them to get roofied and to be destroyed. And that's pretty fucking sad. Bye.